October 11th, 2012. It's the decisive Game 5 of the National League Division Series between the Cincinnati Reds and San Francisco Giants. Winner of this game moves on, loser goes home. The Giants have the bases loaded with one out in the top of the fifth inning, up 2-0. But before we continue, we need context on the Reds leading up to this moment. The Reds won the World Series in 1990, sweeping the Oakland Athletics. They returned to the playoffs 5 years later, but were swept in the League Championship Series by the Atlanta Braves. That would be it for a while. The Reds managed just 2 winning seasons over the next 14 seasons, which includes 9 consecutive losing seasons from 2001 to 2009, in which they only managed 80 wins once. It wasn't the best decade for the Reds. Cincinnati returned to the playoffs in 2010, the first time since '95, but got swept in the first round. After another losing season in 2011, the Reds went all out in 2012. They had the second best record in the major leagues that season and were one of the best, if not the best team in baseball. An offense led by slugging first baseman Joey Votto saw him put up the best season of his career. Jay Bruce, Ryan Ludwig, and rookie Todd Frazier were all effective pieces in the lineup as well. The rotation was in cruise control for the season. Led by Cy Young candidate Johnny Cueto, the Reds had a consistent, powerful rotation that could give the team many innings when needed. Out of the 162 games played during the regular season, all but one was started by the same 5 pitchers: Johnny Cueto, Matt Latos, Homer Bailey, Bronson Arroyo, and Mike Leake. The definition of consistency. The pitchers excelled in one way or another. All but one of the 5 starters put up an above average adjusted ERA. And for a number 5 starter, Leake was not shabby at all. The starting rotation gave the team work when needed. For how good the rotation was, the bullpen was even better, but I'll talk about them later. The Reds entering 2012 had not won a playoff game since 1995 and only made it to the postseason just twice since they won it all in 1990. They were hungry for a deep postseason run, and this year seemed like their best chance in a long time. In the NLDS, the Reds had to face the Giants, a team 2 years removed from a World Series win. In Game 1, the Reds pulled off the victory. Red starter Matt Latos pitched 4 clutch innings in relief when Johnny Cueto left with injury after just recording a single out. Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce each homered, and it gave the Reds their first postseason win in 17 years, beating the Giants 5-2. Game 2 wasn't even close. The Reds pounced on Madison Bumgarner in the bullpen. Bronson Arroyo pitched 7 shutout innings, and the Reds won 9-0. 2 clutch wins on the road, and Cincinnati was 1 win away from advancing to the League Championship Series. Game 3 in Cincinnati was a pitcher's duel. The Giants scored on an error in the 10th inning and won the game 2-1. Game 4 was close for most of the game, but the Giants pounced on Red starter Mike Leake and reliever Jose Arredondo to win 8-3. Suddenly, momentum was in favor of the Giants. After winning the first 2 games on the road, the Reds surrendered 2 losses at home to force a final Game 5. It's do or die for Cincinnati now, just their 3rd playoff appearance in over 20 years, putting together the best Reds team since they last won the World Series. They're down, but not out. Game 5 featured a duel between Matt Latos and Matt Cain. Cain was the Game 1 starter for the Giants, and Latos basically was as well. Latos was second among Red starters in innings pitched and ERA that year, the clear number 2 starter for the team, and the best option for them with Cueto out with injury. The game was a pitcher's duel as both starters blanked each team for the first 4 innings. In the 5th, Latos allowed back-to-back hits, and an error by shortstop Zach Cozart suddenly became a 2-0 Giants lead. Latos immediately allowed a walk and a single to load the bases with 1 out for Buster Posey, that season's MVP award winner. At this point, Latos had thrown over 70 pitches. He only recorded 1 out so far in the 5th, and the Giants were pouncing on him. This is where I'd like to talk about the 2012 Reds bullpen. As amazing as the rotation was all season, the bullpen was even better. The Reds had 8 relief pitchers throw at least 9 innings in 2012. The lowest adjusted ERA among those 8 was 120, which equates to an ERA of 3.46. The league average ERA in 2012 was 4.01, and 3.46 was the highest ERA among Reds relievers. They were good. The bullpen was led by closer Aroldis Chapman, who recorded a 1.51 ERA and 38 saves during the regular season. He was one of the best relievers in the majors that year. Even when Chapman didn't pitch, Cincinnati had support from everyone. Sean Marshall, Jose Arredondo, Alfredo Simon, J.J. Hoover, and Jonathan Broxton all recorded ERAs under 3. That means 6 of the 8 Reds relievers recorded an ERA under 3. In fact, the top 4 relief pitchers that threw the most innings for the Reds combined to pitch 255 2/3 innings and record a 2.36 ERA. A reminder that the league average ERA was 4.01. The top 4 Reds relievers combined to almost halve that amount. The Reds bullpen as a whole led all of MLB in adjusted ERA and tied for second for ERA. In fact, in the live ball era up until this point, which was 1920 to 2012, the Reds bullpen's 123 adjusted ERA is in the top 35 for best bullpen adjusted ERA in that time span. Statistically, they were one of the best bullpens in the past nearly 100 years at that point. That is the sign of an elite bullpen. In the first 4 games of this playoff series, not including Latos' relief appearance, the bullpen combined to allow 4 earned runs across 19 innings. That's a 1.89 ERA. They held the Giants hitters in check all series. Bronson Arroyo, who pitched in Game 2, could also come into the game if absolutely needed. Remember, he's coming off 7 shutout innings in his appearance. So, to wrap up, the Reds had the best bullpen in baseball during the 2012 regular season. Their top 4 relievers in particular were some of the best in MLB. So far during the playoffs, the Reds bullpen continued its dominance, limiting the Giants' bats. In addition to the relief pitchers, Bronson Arroyo, one of the reliable starters for the Reds, who pitched brilliant baseball in Game 2, was available as well to pitch. With the Reds already down 2 runs and having to face that season's MVP with the bases loaded and 1 out, they needed to get out of this situation without more harm if they wanted to win. Years and years worth of disappointment on the verge of blowing a 2-0 lead, and this moment suddenly became the most important decision in recent Reds history. Of these many, many wonderful options in the bullpen, who did Reds manager Dusty Baker pick to bring into the game to relieve a struggling Matt Latos? The most critical Reds situation in over 20 years came down to this. Dusty Baker brought in nobody. Despite the high pitch count, despite the Giants hitters teeing off of Latos this inning, despite one of the greatest bullpens in the past 100 years, Dusty left Latos in the game in the biggest situation a Reds pitcher faced in a long, long time. So, what happened?
Deep left field, that is way back, and a grand slam for Buster
The Reds lost Game 5, 6-4, blowing a 2-0 lead. Since that Game 5, 10 years ago, the Reds have played in 3 total playoff games. They're 0-3, totaling 2 runs in those 3 games. Cincinnati went 17 years between playoff victories, and it should surprise nobody if it happens again.